Okay, so hi everyone. I am not sure if I can share my slides, but I would still like to take the opportunity to engage with all of you. So if you could just say in the chat that you guys are able to hear me, and if it's, so that I get a little confirmation that I'm not talking to myself. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, so sounds good. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'm a little about myself. I started my career as a 19-year-old writing resumes. This is around 12 years back. And at that time, the internet was based on keywords. And, you make a resume, you submit your resume, and, you hope for that to get shortlisted and you get an interview call. Now, in 2020, we are moving into a remote first world. Like, just look at this event, the sheer number of people from different parts of the world are participating. Hi, so for some reason, the whole thing got disconnected and the video was off. So, okay, I'm back. Um, all right, I can see many of us dropped out. So there was like a system error. So yeah, welcome to the world of internet. Okay, so I was telling you the cost of hiring one, engineer, for instance, is around $20,000, $22,000 to be exact. Okay, so, I mean, let's keep it also engaging. I would love to answer questions and share my knowledge on what's going to happen in the remote recruiting world and what people are looking for. So let's see how many recruiters we have in the room, how many companies on the hiring side, or how many job seekers. Do you guys want to share quick questions on what exactly you want to know? And I can, share stories and instances around the world that I've seen. So, and I run this company called StackRaft, which is a remote recruiting platform, and we are a data and analytics company. And we look for, data-driven decisions when it comes to hiring. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it on the chat, and I will make sure I address that in some way. And let me also, go back to my fundamental example of cost of hiring. So, like I was saying, it takes $20,000 for a company to make a hiring decision, and around 4 to 5 weeks to close a position. So, and what really happens is when they make a hire, the company is never sure if they made a good hiring decision or not, because until and unless you work with that person for the first 3 months or 6 months, you never know if you made a good hire or not. So the whole point of such a huge cost of $20,000 spent in hiring is kind of not worth it. Now, what will happen in the remote world and in the borderless world, and why companies should build a remote first team very quickly? Of course, it gives so much of a diversity. You can get your work running in a 24/7 clock, and you have an opportunity to have a global market expansion. So now just think of the fact that, say, you're in the United States and you want to expand into Europe, and you have team already in Europe. So the market expansion gets so much easy for a company. So these are the fundamental core advantages of building a remote first team. Going back on the recruiting, like what companies are looking for and why it is difficult, all the more difficult to make a decision when you're at the border. Number one, your resume, that piece of paper that covers where did you go to school, what skills you have, is meaningless. Companies want proof of work. They want to see your digital footprints. They want to see what kind of projects you have built in the past, what kind of work that you've done. So having your digital identity, your profile on LinkedIn, on GitHub, your own blog, your own writing, adds so much of value and proof about your own ability to do things. So that is the most fundamental thing that companies look for when hiring remote. Is that about your problem solving skills and how you think. Oftentimes when I speak with companies, most hiring managers tell me uh, that they want to evaluate how a candidate thinks, and this can only be done on a face-to-face conversation. It's difficult to evaluate that. So how recruiting will change is, for a job position they will give a problem statement, which does not have a black and white answer, and companies would want to assess how would you solve that problem in that particular situation. What kind of decisions will you make? Now that data and that insight will help to make the right recruiting decisions. And then the last piece is that about career intention. Like always, people prioritize for different things. Somebody wants to relocate, someone wants a good work-life balance, someone is looking for flexibility of timing, or a designation, or working on a proper position. So those are all intentions. And if people, get transparent enough about their intentions, it's easy to match make. So this comes across as explicit matchmaking. No point in, going through the whole interview process and at the end negotiating for your salary. I mean, why don't you say, hey, this is this kind of salary that I'm looking for, and this is what my preferences are, and then you get matchmade for the right position. So these are the fundamental things that will change. And now I can see some questions coming up, and in the interest of time, so Jacqueline says, I'm interested in remote recruiting of consultants. Can you talk about that? So if you can be more specific, what do you mean by remote recruiting of consultants? Do you mean contractors from around the world and freelance workers? The second question is, one of the challenges of recruiting or job prospecting is running into cultural. How can recruiters best prepare candidates for nuances of culture? Okay, that's a very good question. Character and culture is the most important thing when it comes to recruiting and hiring. And that is why companies depend on references. Now, as recruiters, how you can prepare your candidates best in those aspects is by understanding their career intention, by talking to them about behavioral aspects of work. And it's probably the problem of human judgment. See, culture is an attribute that you cannot train a person on. Every person learns and have built their own character from their own experiences. So as a recruiter, you can speak with them and judge and understand and give them real feedback, give them clear feedback. So even if they do not fit now, they can fit, say, 1 year down the line. So it's behavioral, and it will involve a layer of human intelligence from the same field. The fundamental disconnect and the mismatch between assessing a candidate on cultural skills as a recruiter is, you do not understand their field of work. Unless, say, for example, if you're recruiting a software engineer and you're not a software engineer yourself, you're not the right person to even assess their cultural and behavioral attributes. So it's very important to understand their environment to judge their cultural attributes. So, okay, so you mentioned how to remote recruit contractors and freelance workers. So it's, go to platforms like Upwork, TopTal. They do a ton of validation for contractors and freelance workers. You get a ton of data to actually make your decisions to recruit them. And training to prepare them for success. Yeah, I mean, training is helpful, but it's about communication training. It's not about cultural and behavioral training. The training has to be more about communication, how you talk, how you speak, your listening ability, your ability to take actions and not react to a situation. So I mean, that is helpful, but I am a firm believer in self-learning and self-awareness, and giving people feedback so that they know how to learn and how to think about situations, rather than taking a teacher and a student approach. There has been a lot of research in cultural intelligence. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I tell people often take all the psychology and psychometrics tests available online and try to figure out who you are, and what you like to do. So you become more self-aware, and you know where to improve yourself rather than giving advice to others, right? So that's very self-analysis of a person's ability. So I was wondering if more people have more questions. Okay, we have Tolu from Los Angeles. She's saying hi. And yeah, we have around 26 people in this session. I was wondering if you guys have more questions, if I can answer more specific questions. If you're a job seeker looking for a remote job, or if you're a company, you're a recruiter, feel free to. How do you decide what should be a good pay for the hiring? Okay, great question. So one is, of course, the salary benchmarks and other things, but the real good way to decide a good pay is based on the outcome, based on what you expect the other person to do. So a lot of people on today's time calculate pay based on number of hours invested. Say 5 hours, I'll take $100 for an hour. That's not the right way to calculate a pay. I mean, after 5 hours, if you give me crap, you're not worth it. So decide pay based on the outcome and based on the impact of that outcome for the company. I mean, it gets complicated as you move along the ladder, but that's how you should really do it. So the person who is working also finds a lot of meaning that how they are contributing to your revenues and helping you grow the company. Okay, Jacqueline, thank you for your LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, on Twitter. And if you guys are looking for jobs, you can, register on my platform as well, which is StackRaft.com. I will just write in here. And, we have human experts, specific career experts that help you in your core skills and recommend you to companies. So it's recruiting done very differently. We are the first company in the whole world doing recruiting with human intelligence. Any tips for the recruiter that wants to get a job in remote recruiting? What are the main skills specific to remote recruiting? Maybe the main sources that you would recommend. Great question, Stella. So get a job in remote recruiting is being very specific to your own niche. Say you understand software engineers really well, for example, or machine learning, and try to build a community based on your knowledge of understanding them, and then get the companies who are looking for that kind of a talent. It's the whole traditional way of recruiting. So instead of striving to get a job, own that space, own that segment, and write about it, talk about it, and build your influence in that segment. And everyone is a recruiter, everyone is a matchmaker at the end of the day. So Akhilesh is asking, I was planning to move for higher studies abroad to US, considering current COVID situation. How do you see the job market getting back to normal? You know what, 60% companies are still hiring. And if you look at the unemployment numbers, yeah, a lot of jobs have gone, but the tech companies are still hiring. There's fundamentally a lot of open positions still. So I understand you're from India and you're considering to move to US. In US, there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of visa and whatnot. But if you're looking to move to US for higher studies, nothing is stopping you. I mean, COVID is a very situational thing, and things will get back to normal, but it will not be business as usual. It will change. It will be, lot of remote and online working, online jobs, and all of that. Kalyani says, I'm a job seeker. How can you project your soft skills when you don't have a lot of experience? By writing, write blogs, write content, share your thoughts, share how you think, and that's how you show what your soft skills are. What channels do you recommend to attract tech talent? I recommend looking at, there's this platform called dev.to, Canadian company. Then there is, there is, of course, AngelList. There's Hacker News. There's a ton of platforms to attract tech talent. There's tech talent almost everywhere. There's Kaggle, but Alina, the whole science is about how you attract, how you market, how you, communicate to attract the right kind of people for the jobs that you're recruiting for. Considering you're into recruitment and sourcing industry, what do you think it is good or safe move this fall 2020? Towards end of this year, it's safe to move. I'm expecting around September, October, things starting to take more action. So it's pretty safe. You can consider that and, not held your plans back. I'm a Salesforce professional working into business technology consulting. Thank you, Akhilesh. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Kalyani. Thank you, everyone who attended the session. Much appreciate your time. If you want to connect furthermore, if you have more questions, feel free to hit me on LinkedIn or on Twitter and reach out to me. I will be very happy to connect with you guys and speak more if you like. Yeah, thank you.